Hi, my name is Jim Taylor. I wanted you to know about what Nick James has to say. He is giving away a free book. Here's what Nick James has to say. My neighbors were shocked when they discovered I was the author of this book. They'd all just assumed I was a drug dealer. But what happened once they discovered the secret behind my millionaire lifestyle shocked me. I hope you're not going to react the same way. Let's see, I've always seen myself as a regular guy next door. I keep myself to myself, but I'd never turn a neighbor away from the front door if they needed to borrow a cup of sugar. So when that knock on the door came a couple of months after I moved into my new home, I was happy to invite Baz in while the sugar loan deal went down. Baz, of course, is not his real name. You'll see why I'm protecting their real identity in a moment. You want a coffee, Baz? I asked him out of politeness. Sure, why not, Nick, he eagerly replied. The usual small talk ensued while I put the kettle on until Baz noticed a copy of the book I'd just written on the table. OMG, is that you on the cover of that book? Have you written a book? He asked. Yeah, I wrote that, I said rather self-consciously. Still feels a bit weird saying I'm an author. How to make 6 figures a year in info publishing, he said as he read the cover of the book out aloud. So what's it about then? And before I had chance to answer, he followed up with another question. 6 figures, that's like 100 grand, right? And I swear he didn't even say that in a Homer Simpson voice. I resisted the urge to respond by asking him if he wanted half a dozen donuts to go with his coffee, and instead said, actually, Baz, it can mean anything from $100,000 all the way up to $999,000 a year. Whoa, he exclaimed, and people actually make that kind of money every year, do they? I mean, I know that CEOs of massive companies make that kind of dough, but I didn't think everyday's Joes like us could do that. Yep, thousands of people have done that, and some of us even bring in 7 figures a year, I replied. So, this info publishing thing, that's how you're managing to drive an Aston Martin, and the Range Rover, and that monster of a motorhome, and is that how you're paying for all of those exotic holidays? He asked, pointing at the photos on the wall of me and my family on safari in Africa and scuba diving in Zanzibar. We'd all assumed you were a drug dealer, he said, you know, seeing as you don't seem to have a job and you just hang out with your wife at home all day, and you're obviously way too young to be retired. I waited a couple of seconds for a just kidding type of smile to show up on his face, but it didn't come. Instead, he just gave me one of those I'm waiting for an explanation type of stares, you know, the deadpan look a police officer uses on you after he's pulled you over and he asks you if you know why he's pulled you over. Well, yeah, it is, I said as the realization dawned on me that the whole neighborhood had obviously been talking about me, and my dodgy career choice. The info publishing business has been good to me, Baz. I've banked over $16 million since I started a few years back, and you're right, it's not like having a job. 2 or 3 hours and I'm done most days, I said, trying not to sound smug as I heard back how ridiculously good that sounded. Hey Baz, do you fancy giving info publishing a go yourself? I asked him. The book shows you exactly how I've built a work-from-home business that brings in more money each month than most people make in a year. You could easily do the same yourself if you simply follow the instructions in the book. Here, take this copy, I said as I handed him the book. And that's when it happened. He took a last gulp of coffee and said, nah, I think I'll pass on that, Nick, I'm not much of a reader, you know. Anyway, thanks for the coffee and the sugar, he muttered. Gotta get off, my lady will be wondering what I'm up to over here hanging out with a guy like you. I'll see myself out. And good luck with the book, buddy. And before I had chance to express my disbelief in a John McEnroe type of "you cannot be serious" outburst, he was out of the back door and gone. Now, don't you think it's sad how most people would prefer to gossip with their buddies about what that guy or gal driving past in the nicer car, or living in the nicer home, or enjoying nicer holidays, is getting up to that enables them to have that millionaire lifestyle? Particularly when the conclusion they come to is that it must be something shady or just downright illegal. Meanwhile, some of us actually find out what these folks are doing to have it all. We discovered that info publishing is a hugely profitable business model, a business model that's used by everyone from work-from-home entrepreneurs to billion-dollar companies. And the model is simple to copy and get similar results. As you'll see when you read my book, that's exactly what I did just a few years ago when I was driving a rusty old van and had a chance meeting with a guy driving a brand spanking new $100,000 7 Series BMW. First, I actually asked him what he did. He told me he was an info publisher. Now, he hadn't written a book, but he had made a videotapes that explained how to be an info publisher, and he very generously gave me a copy of his VHS videotapes. Then, I simply copied the model he'd given me. And within a few short weeks my life had changed forever. In fact, in just 14 days I'd banked just short of $16,000. Within months I was having regular 5-figure days. And I hit the 6 figures a year mark in about 18 months. And now, through this book I've written, I explain to anyone who will listen exactly how to transform their life by becoming an info publisher too. Anyway, my book currently isn't for sale. I'll explain why in a moment, but, if I offered to give you a copy of my book for free, what would your reaction be?